is around 200 miles away from the old capital, Kolkata. While travelling by train at the middle of the journey, one can overhear the voice of indigenous floating singers roaming across the train.
নীলকণ্ঠ কেনে কুমড়ো কদু নীলকণ্ঠ কেনে কুমড়ো কদু ঝিঙে পটল কাঁচকলা তার কপালে দিলে
And eventually gives you the indication of its destination. This indication is distinctly marked when the train reaches Bolpur. And it is perfectly evident that the very Bolpur Shantiniketan station is distinctly different from the rest of the other stations in India. A stranger in the locality is amazed and mesmerized to hear the melancholious Tagore song when it appears from the crowded streets all around. The shops and street signs holding the top lines from the Tagorean verses and characters. The little tiny suburb, with its poor and peripheral outlook, gloriously stands different from the usual thought. This tiny locality had been carrying and upholding the visions and creative thoughts of the outstanding, brilliant Bengali for more than a century. Seed of those precious fruits were planted by his father, Maharshi Devendranath Tagore. While passing from Bolpur to Raipur, Debendranath Tagore, the feudalist zamindar, with a mind of a spiritual devotion, sat under two small trees and discovered immense tranquility of nature that gave him comfort, pleasure, and peace of mind and soul. He then decided to make it a sanctuary for his religious polarization. In 1862, the Lord of Raipur had leased him 7 acres of land from his own territory at a cost of a token price. Consequently, Debendranath made a wisdom sanitarium in the following year and named it Shantiniketan, the House of Peace. Debendranath, the zamindar of Jorasanko, occasionally stayed in Shantiniketan, the House of Peace, with his followers and disciples of the same Brahmo religion, and spent time in religious discussions, prayers, and preaches. Tagore for the first time came to Shantiniketan at the age of 11 with his father and stayed for a few days with him. But Debendranath did not hold the Shantiniketan under his disposition for a long time. In 1888, he made a trust deed and opened the premises for all. A temple was built beside the guest house in 1891. This temple provided the access for people from any caste and any belief. At that time, Bolendranath, the nephew of Rabindranath Tagore, initiated to build up a Brahmo school in Shantiniketan sanctuary. Tagore was appointed by his father to look after the treasury of Shilaidaho Kushtia. His wife, Mrilanili Devi, and kids accompanied him. Tagore was concerned about the education of his children and built a family school in his chateau in Shilaidaho. In 1901, at the age of 40, the poet came to Shantiniketan permanently. But there was no scope for him to stay with his family in Shantiniketan guest house. He built a temporary house with all indigenous materials and started to live there. The poet decided to build a non-formal school for his children. In 1901, with the concept of mythical institutes, he started a different type of school named Brahmacharyaashrama, meaning a school for Brahmo religious education. To develop a congenial and friendly relation between teacher and student, a classroom with vast space was created, with sky as roof and bushes and trees as the surrounding walls. Students and teachers were very close to nature, and through continuing question and answer sessions, students used to learn from teachers in almost all subjects they required. Tagore's wife, Mrinalini Devi, expired in 1902. He then shifted to a newly built two-storied house near the old thatched house named Deholi in 1904. Tagore stayed along 15 years in this house with his children till he moved to Uttarayan, the residential complex of the Tagore family in Shantiniketan compound. In 1905, his father, Debendranath Tagore, expired, and all the liability of the Shantiniketan compound lied over to the poet. Tagore engrossed all his attention and devotion to develop the compound with all his own resources. In course of time, the premise expanded in shape and size in a phase manner. The little plants started to grow and bloom gradually and shape themselves into big trees. And open-air classrooms started functioning under the serene and tranquil shades of the greenery. Professors from home and abroad came forward to teach here almost voluntarily. To raise funds for its development, Tagore sought support from different affluent people of India and abroad. Gradually, he managed to build a few structures in the premise of Shantiniketan sanctuary compound. The Nobel Prize came to Tagore in 1913. He then was invited by different distinguished personalities and institutions from abroad. At a certain time of his world tour, he felt the immense urge to co-opt his Indian thoughts into the global spectrum. To materialize this thought in 1918, Tagore declared Shantiniketan Brahmashram as Visva Bharati. In 1921, he formed a council for Visva Bharati and handed over all his own assets, including the prize money of his Nobel Award, to the council and opened the access for all students from all over the world. After formation of Visva Bharati, Tagore concentrated to develop the infrastructures of the locality. Thus, in 1922, he set up Sriniketan in a village close to Shantiniketan. Visva Bharati started to get its shape gradually. University section was named Patha Bhavana, college section Shikha Bhavan, and the school section was named Patha Bhavana. Girls' hostel, Sri Shodun, boys' hostel, Tarik, and structures for arts faculty began to be erected from that period. China and Hindi building were built in 1937 and 1939. Hindi building was the last structure developed in Visva Bharati before Tagore's demise. In 1940, Tagore was awarded D.Litt from Oxford University. And this ceremony took place at the Shinkho Shodon in Shantiniketan. Mahatma Gandhi visited the ailing Tagore for the last time in 1940. Tagore urged Mahatma to take care of Visva Bharati in his absence. 80-year-old Tagore left Shantiniketan on 25th July 1941 to Kolkata for treatment and never had the chance to come back ever again. But the bell of Visva Bharati never stopped ringing, even in his absence. After 10 years of his death, in 1951, Indian Parliament declared Visva Bharati as a full-fledged university. From that time, Indian government took over the responsibility and built the rest of the structures for the arts faculty. Separate buildings were built for their own department. Music, dance, painting, sculpture is so popular in Visva Bharati that students from several countries and cultures are still coming with the passion and pursuit of learning. In 1863, Shantiniketan compound was built on 7 acres of land. Now, Visva Bharati has extended its area to 1200 acres and become the only university in India where there is opportunity to learn from kindergarten to PhD degree. The Brahmavidyalaya started with 5 students in 1901, and in the long course of 100 years of time, the Visva Bharati now numbers 5,000 students from home and abroad. The concept of open-air classroom is successfully running after 100 years from the time of his dream. Students are very comfortable to perform their classes under the open sky.
তো সবাই যেরকম ধরুন ঘরের মধ্যে বন্দি থাকে চারপাশে সব দেখতে দেখতে পাই না আমরা সব রকমই করা হয় আমাদের পড়াশোনাও হয়।
The locality of Bolpur and Bhubundanga is now recognized as the symbol of holy pilgrimage for all the patrons and lovers of Bangla art, culture and literature. Tagore also had picked many elements for his literature from this locality in the last 40 years of his life. This is that Khoi. This is that very Moyurakhi. This is the spiral tiny river. Or the very red clay road away from his home that enchanted his heart and soul. Or that very mango grove or palm trees that touched his heart are now the main attractions for the art lover tourists all around the year.
আর এই এখান দিয়ে উনি গেছেন, এখানে ওনার পায়ের ধুলো আছে, এটা একটা বিরাট ব্যাপার।
আচ্ছা বুঝিয়ে বাইটা রয়েছে
প্যান্ডেল হয় না তাহলে বৃষ্টি আসে
না বৃষ্টি না আমাদের এখানে নিয়ম হচ্ছে বৃষ্টি যখন আরম্ভ হবে তখন বন্ধ থাকবে অনুষ্ঠান, বৃষ্টি ছেড়ে গেলে হবে।
মিটিংয়ের জায়গা চলে
হ্যাঁ চলে যাবে, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ।
পুরো প্যান্ডেল হবে।
আচ্ছা ওই যে দূরে যে বাড়িটা রয়েছে।
The Shautal tribe lives very close to Shantiniketan. There was enough evidence of Shautal in his literature. The dream for a sustainable rural life of Sriniketan is now accomplished. The craftsmen of this locality are now making various crafts in the places of Amar Kutir or in Boshundhara. The products containing the evergreen memories of Rabindranath Tagore are the key attraction for the art-loving tourists. Today, the name of Bolpur and Bhuvonanga are hidden behind the fame of Shantiniketan. But these localities are now proudly upholding the sweet memories of their master, who spent the last 40 years of his life here, holding the spirit, vision, and thoughts. The footprints of Rabindranath Tagore are still alive even long after his death.